Welcome back to Good Day Seattle. You know, rescue efforts underway in Morocco today. That's after a 6.8 earthquake Friday night, killing more than 2,000 people. President Biden offering condolences to the people of Morocco. The White House says the U.S. is ready to offer assistance. And here in Western Washington, I mean, we live in a region that's highly vulnerable to earthquakes. To talk more about our local threat and what we're learning from Morocco, we want to bring in Dr. Tobin, director of the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network, UW professor. Dr. Tobin, thanks for being with us this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me this morning.
Let's start right away with Morocco. What are we learning in the aftermath, and what can we learn from this situation?
Yeah, well, first of all, of course, the images coming out are shocking to all of us. Yeah. We've seen it before in other places, but it's just terrible when an earthquake does this much damage and causes this much loss of life. My heart goes out to all those folks. It's a region that was certainly not, seismic activity wasn't unknown, but it also wasn't really prevalent. This is the largest earthquake ever recorded in Morocco. We have recordings going back to the year 1900. Clearly, by far, the largest earthquake they've had there. And that's the challenge of earthquakes, is sometimes they happen in places where we're not seeing a lot of those smaller earthquakes that might give us clues to bigger ones coming. And so, so what took place was not unprecedented there, but was certainly a surprise to the folks in the region.
And when we think about our area, I mean, we had a 6.8 magnitude earthquake, the Nisqually earthquake. A lot of people probably remember it back in 2001. I understand that earthquakes of similar magnitudes can still be different depending on the type of fault. Can you explain that?
Absolutely, yeah. The magnitude is just a number that tells us about the total amount of slip on the fault or the energy released by the earthquake, how big the waves overall that were generated are. But there's a lot more to the story. The Nisqually earthquake, fortunately, people didn't die in that earthquake, really, largely because it was much deeper down in the crust, and it was kind of a different type of slip on a fault. The one in Morocco was closer to the surface, and then the big thing is also the damage comes really not from the earthquake magnitude, but from construction and buildings.
That's right.
And so it's the buildings in that region that really, unfortunately, are why so many of them have collapsed.
Can you remind people what we should be doing? I mean, we think about drop, cover, hold, but is there anything else in a way that we can react once that shaking happens?
Yeah, I mean, for us, immediately, of course, the main thing is to watch out for things that can fall on your head, local objects. As we say in seismology, earthquakes don't kill people, buildings kill people, and or the objects in the building. So drop, cover, and hold on. That's your immediate response. But as a society, and here in the Pacific Northwest, we still can improve our resilience a lot. We need to build better buildings. We need to retrofit the older buildings. There's still lots of these, what we call unreinforced masonry buildings, even right here in Seattle and certainly in the region. Those need work, absolutely.
Wow, I mean, yeah. I mean, and what's so interesting about our area, too, is we have so many different types of fault. The Seattle fault, Cascade Subduction Zone. I want to ask you about this new funding coming from the National Science Foundation for a new center in Oregon that's going to be focused on the Cascade Subduction Zone. What is the center going to do, and why is it important?
Well, yeah, we're tremendously excited about this new center. It's called Crescent. That stands for the Cascadia Region Earthquake Science Center. And the idea is that we've heard about the big one. We know about all the possibilities of earthquakes. It's a larger science problem than any one group of scientists can solve by themselves. We really need to take a systems-wide and absolutely cutting-edge approach. So it is based at the University of Oregon, but it's really a kind of a consortium of the universities in our region. UW is a leading partner along with Central Washington and OSU, and actually 12 other institutions around the country, famous places, Stanford, all kinds of places around the country. And what we're trying to do is basically bring the best possible modeling, AI tools, field work, the kind of data we can collect from seismometers and GPS to comprehensively understand earthquakes in our region. And understanding is the key to then mitigating them. So we have a big focus on what's actionable information that communities can actually use to improve their resilience.
Oh, that's a big deal. I'm excited to hear more about those developments. Dr. Tobin, Pacific Northwest Seismic Network, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it. All right, we'll be back right after this.